What if I told you that, while the US is experiencing record-high public support for immigration, Canada is actually cutting its immigration numbers by nearly 100,000 people? And that's just the beginning of this week's surprising migration developments between North America's two largest countries. But wait, there's more. We're also seeing processing delays that could leave you waiting over a year for basic documents, new immigration programs launching, and a complete shift in how both countries are approaching permanent residency. Some of these changes could close doors forever, while others are opening opportunities that didn't exist just months ago. Welcome back to Migration Weekly. Here in InfoExpress, and today we're diving into some game-changing immigration news that could affect millions of people looking to build their future in North America. Whether you're already in the immigration process, planning to start, or just curious about North American migration trends, this episode has information that could literally change your life trajectory. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed because immigration policies are shifting weekly, and missing one update could cost you years of opportunity. Let's get started. The Great Immigration Paradox. Let's start with the most shocking statistic of the week. U.S. public support for immigration just hit a record high of 79%. That's a massive 15-point jump from last year. Think about that for a moment. Despite all the political rhetoric and enforcement crackdowns, nearly 8 out of 10 Americans now support immigration. This is happening under the Trump administration, which has implemented some of the strictest immigration enforcement policies we've seen in decades. So why is public support actually increasing? The answer might surprise you. Economic data shows that immigrants are contributing significantly to local economies, filling critical labor shortages, and many Americans are seeing the direct benefits in their communities. But here's where it gets complicated. While public opinion is soaring, the system itself is drowning. Over 356,000 immigration cases are stuck in pending status as of the end of the second quarter of fiscal year 2025. That's not just a number, that's 356,000 families, dreams, and futures hanging in limbo. And if you're waiting for a green card replacement, brace yourself. USCIS is now estimating that 80% of green card replacements could take over a year to process. That's not a typo, over a year just to replace a card you already earned. Imagine having to put your life on hold, unable to travel, unable to prove your status for over a year just for a replacement document. Breaking down the U.S. system crisis. Let's dive deeper into what's causing these delays. The Trump administration's immigration crackdown has created a perfect storm of increased enforcement, heightened scrutiny of applications, and bureaucratic bottlenecks. Every application now requires more documentation, more interviews, more verification steps. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't just affecting new applications. People who have been legal residents for years are getting caught in this system. Renewal applications, replacement cards, even citizenship applications are facing unprecedented delays. The human cost is staggering. I've been tracking stories of people who can't visit dying relatives, can't accept job promotions, can't even get driver's licenses because their documents are tied up in this backlog. Meanwhile, their legal status remains valid, they just can't prove it. Canada's strategic shift, the full picture. Now, let's cross the border to Canada, where the story takes a completely different turn. Canada just announced their 2025 to 2027 immigration levels plan, and the numbers tell a fascinating story about the future of North American immigration. They're scaling back from higher targets to 395,000 permanent residents in 2025, then down to 380,000 in 2026, and finally 365,000 in 2027. But this isn't just about reducing numbers, it's about strategic recalibration. Canada's immigration minister has been clear about the reasoning. They want to ensure successful integration, reduce strain on housing and healthcare systems, and maintain public support for immigration. It's a calculated move that acknowledges the challenges of rapid population growth while maintaining Canada's commitment to immigration. But here's the smart part of Canada's strategy. More than 40% of those permanent residents will be people already living and working in Canada. They're essentially saying we want people who are already integrated, who understand our system, who speak our languages, and who are contributing to our economy. This represents a fundamental shift in Canadian immigration philosophy. Instead of bringing in people from abroad and hoping they integrate, they're prioritizing people who have already proven they can succeed in Canada. Speaking of integration, let's talk about one of the most significant developments that happened just last week. Ontario launched a new employer portal for their Provincial Nominee Program, or OINP, on July 2nd. And honestly, this could be a game changer. For those unfamiliar with provincial nominee programs, they're basically pathways that allow Canadian provinces to nominate immigrants who want to live in that specific province. Ontario's new portal makes it way easier for employers to directly connect with potential immigrants, streamlining a process that used to take, like, months. But here's why this matters beyond just Ontario. Other provinces are watching this closely. If Ontario's new system works, you can expect to see similar portals launching across Canada. This could fundamentally change how Canadian immigration works, shifting from a government-led process to a more market-driven, employer-focused system. Despite the reduced numbers, Canada isn't closing its doors. They're actually getting more strategic. They're launching a brand new permanent immigration program based on their successful Economic Mobility Pathways pilot, or EMPP. The EMPP has been quietly successful, helping refugees and displaced persons integrate into the Canadian economy through skilled worker pathways. The new program will expand this concept, creating more pathways for people who might not qualify through traditional immigration streams. What makes this particularly interesting is the timing. While the US system is becoming more restrictive and bureaucratic, Canada is actually creating new pathways. They're just being more selective about who gets to use them. There's another layer to this story that most immigration channels won't tell you about: housing. Both countries are dealing with housing crises, but they're responding very differently. In Canada, the immigration reduction is directly tied to housing availability. The government has acknowledged that rapid population growth through immigration has contributed to housing shortages and affordability issues. By reducing immigration numbers while increasing infrastructure investment, they're trying to achieve better balance. The US, meanwhile, is dealing with housing shortages but not connecting them to immigration policy. This disconnect means that even if processing delays improve, new immigrants may face significant housing challenges in major metropolitan areas. Okay, so let's get specific about how these changes affect different categories of people. For students, if you're studying in Canada, you're honestly in a better position than ever. The emphasis on people already in Canada means your pathway to permanent residence is actually improving, even as overall numbers decrease. Now, for skilled workers, the US skilled worker visa situation is getting more complex, with longer processing times but potentially better long-term prospects because of growing public support. Canada, on the other hand, is maintaining strong skilled worker programs, but with, higher competition. When it comes to family reunification, both countries are seeing challenges, but for different reasons. The US has processing delays affecting reunion timelines, while Canada is balancing family reunification with overall immigration targets. And for entrepreneurs, Canada continues to prioritize entrepreneur immigration, while the US system remains challenging but potentially rewarding for those who can navigate the delays. Here's something crucial that's often overlooked. These immigration changes are happening during a period of labor shortages in both countries. The US is experiencing critical shortages in healthcare, technology, and skilled trades. Canada is facing similar challenges, particularly in healthcare and construction. This economic reality is part of why US public support for immigration is increasing, despite all the political rhetoric. People are seeing help-wanted signs everywhere and connecting that to immigration policy. It's also why Canada, even though they're reducing overall numbers, is maintaining strong economic immigration programs. Not all of Canada is the same, and not all of the US is the same. Some Canadian provinces are actually increasing their immigration targets, even as the federal government reduces overall numbers. Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island are all looking to increase their populations. In the US, certain states are implementing their own immigration-friendly policies, creating opportunities even within the federal system's constraints. Understanding these regional variations could be crucial for your immigration strategy. Here's what you need to do right now, and I'm going to break this down by your specific situation. If you're considering US immigration, start your paperwork immediately, and I mean immediately. With these processing delays, every single month counts. Don't wait for the system to improve. Honestly, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But here's the strategic part. Consider starting with temporary statuses that can lead to permanent ones. The public support numbers suggest that, long-term, the US will become more immigrant-friendly, but you need to be in the system to benefit from that shift. If Canada is your target, focus on getting into the country first through temporary programs like work permits or study visas. Remember, 40% of permanent residents are now people already in Canada. This is your golden ticket. Get in temporarily, prove yourself, then transition to permanent status. For students specifically, if you're considering studying abroad, Canada might be your best bet right now. The pathway from student to permanent resident is more predictable than ever, and you'll be positioned perfectly for the new immigration priorities. For skilled workers, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Apply to both countries if you qualify. The processing times are different, the requirements are different, and having options gives you negotiating power. For families, document everything now. Both countries are experiencing delays, but having your paperwork ready means you can move quickly when opportunities arise. The action steps everyone should take. First, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell because immigration policies are changing weekly, and staying informed could be the difference between success and missed opportunities. Second, join our community. I'll put the link in the description, but we have a Discord server where people share real-time updates about processing times, policy changes, and success stories. Third, start building your case now, even if you're not ready to apply. Immigration is about documentation, and good documentation takes time to gather. Drop a comment below and let me know. Are you surprised by these US support numbers? Are you reconsidering your immigration strategy based on today's news? What's your biggest concern about the current immigration landscape? And if this video helped you understand the current situation better, give it a like and share it with someone who might need this information. Immigration knowledge shouldn't be a privilege. It should be accessible to everyone. Immigration between the US and Canada has never been more complex, more opportunity-rich, or more critical to understand for those who want to succeed. We're witnessing a fundamental shift in how North America approaches immigration, and the next few years will determine who gets to participate in these economies and who gets left behind. Let's recap the key insights from today. The US is experiencing a paradox: record public support for immigration combined with record processing delays. This suggests that while the short term is challenging, the long-term trajectory is positive for immigrants. The 79% public support number isn't just a statistic, it's a signal that American attitudes toward immigration are fundamentally changing. Canada is taking a more strategic approach, reducing overall numbers while prioritizing integration and economic contribution. The 40% emphasis on people already in Canada isn't just a policy change. It's a blueprint for successful immigration that other countries are watching closely. Both countries are dealing with labor shortages, housing challenges, and the need to balance public support with practical limitations. Understanding these underlying dynamics is crucial for anyone planning their immigration strategy. The regional variations we discussed, from Ontario's new employer portal to provincial nominee programs, show that immigration isn't just a national issue. It's happening at the local level, and local opportunities might be your best pathway to success. Here's what I want you to remember. Immigration policy is cyclical, but demographic trends are permanent. Both the US and Canada need immigrants for economic growth, innovation, and to address aging populations. The question isn't whether they'll continue to accept immigrants, it's how they'll select them and integrate them. The winners in this new immigration landscape will be those who understand the system, prepare thoroughly, and position themselves strategically. The losers will be those who wait for perfect conditions or simple solutions. Immigration isn't just about moving from one country to another, it's about building a better future for yourself and your family. The policies we discussed today represent millions of individual dreams and aspirations. Whether you're watching this from Lagos, Mumbai, Mexico City, or anywhere else in the world, know that the doors to North America are still open. They might be more complex to navigate, but they're open to those who are prepared and strategic. That's your comprehensive Migration Weekly Update, here in InfoExpress. And remember, in immigration, information isn't just power, it's your pathway to a new life. Stay informed, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay hopeful. The future of North American immigration is bright for those who understand how to navigate it. See you next week with more developments that could change your future.